I was so upset and irrational. But the bottom line is that I made a mistake and grabbed the wrong bag.
Every TV decade brings at least one role that seems destined for a particular star, until they say no. Imagine how different our favorite sitcoms might feel if these casting close calls had panned out. Count down the biggest actor rejections that almost changed TV history. Number 1. Tom Hanks as Joey Tribbiani from Friends. Let's go back to the early 1990s, when the casting of Friends was still an open question and TV producers were dreaming big. In a shock to the imagination, Tom Hanks, already a rising star thanks to movies like Big and A League of Their Own, was on the shortlist to play the fun-loving Joey Tribbiani. Creators Marta Kaufman and David Crane wanted someone with warmth, charm, and that elusive comedic spark, and in 1994, Hanks checked all those boxes. But his booming film career was heading for new heights, soon to land him an Oscar for Forrest Gump. TV couldn't compete with Hollywood's call, so Hanks's name quietly disappeared from the running, and the search continued. Enter Matt LeBlanc, who brought an irresistible dopey sweetness to Joey that instantly clicked. LeBlanc owned every "how you doing?" and turned Joey into more than a punchline. He made him family. The chemistry between the 6 leads, Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Matthew Perry, David Schwimmer, and Matt LeBlanc, became TV legend, and Friends, which premiered in September 1994 on NBC, took off like few sitcoms before or since. Imagine a Joey played by Hanks. Sure, he could nail the likability, but the physical comedy and lovable obliviousness? Those belong to LeBlanc. Sometimes the right door closes and another opens onto TV magic. The sound of those Central Perk mugs clinking still echoes, hinting at the many what-ifs behind what became a perfect cast. Number 2. Ray Liotta as Tony Soprano from The Sopranos. Crossing genres, sitcom pilot version was pitched. Imagine the lingering tension of Ray Liotta's gaze filling your living room as Tony Soprano, not on the gritty drama we know, but headlining a darker, subversive sitcom. In the late 1990s, before The Sopranos became HBO's cultural juggernaut, creators briefly considered reframing Tony's world as a multi-layered sitcom, blending gallows humor with mob family routine. Ray Liotta, fresh from the success of Goodfellas in 1990, was approached to bring that signature edge to the new Tony Soprano. Yet Liotta, valuing his trajectory in feature films, politely declined. His refusal quietly rerouted TV history, sending the show in a darker, dramatic direction. Ultimately, the role went to James Gandolfini, whose brooding complexity would make the 1999 HBO series a milestone in television. This casting decision also paved the way for Edie Falco's unforgettable performance as Carmela. With Liotta's nose still echoing in Hollywood's collective memory, The Sopranos was free to push boundaries, giving viewers one of the most compelling anti-heroes ever seen on the small screen. You can almost hear the whir of that old tube TV, picturing a version that never was, a sitcom Tony, before the world got the one we could never forget. Number 3. Rosie O'Donnell as Monica Geller from Friends. Imagine the fiery, quick-witted banter of Rosie O'Donnell infusing Monica Geller's every move in that Greenwich Village apartment. Back in the mid-1990s, when Friends was coming together, the show's creators, David Crane and Marta Kaufman, were taken by O'Donnell's stand-up spark and comedic timing. Her reputation for bold, relatable humor had already been cemented on television, making her seem a natural fit for a show built on punchlines and heart. But when the offer hit her desk, Rosie paused. She later recalled knowing it was wrong for her. The role simply didn't click with her own rhythm, and she walked away. That single act gave Courtney Cox the chance to step into television history. With Cox, Monica became not just another wisecracker, but a character fueled by both obsessive detail and big-hearted warmth, from her competitive spirit to every color-coded label in her kitchen. Friends premiered on NBC in September 1994, and with Courtney leading the way as Monica, the series became a worldwide sensation with over 200 episodes. Rosie O'Donnell, meanwhile, would go on to host her own hit daytime show and make her mark elsewhere in pop culture. In the echoes of Monica's laughter, you can sense what almost was, and how sitcom magic is shaped by those restless twists of fate. Number 4. Matthew Broderick as Walter White from Malcolm in the Middle, original pilot. The scent of Saturday night pizza and the glow of a boxy TV. It all might have looked different if Matthew Broderick had said yes. Before Malcolm in the Middle hit Fox's primetime lineup in 2000, the show's producers had their sights set on Broderick to play Hal, the slightly hapless, big-hearted dad. With his knack for quirky, understated humor honed in Ferris Bueller's Day Off and heartwarming turns on both stage and screen, Broderick seemed like a safe bet for sitcom gold. But when he declined the role, the project briefly teetered in uncertainty. That twist of fate opened the door for Bryan Cranston, whose comedic timing and all-in physicality woke up the sitcom's core. Instead of Broderick's reserved, sly charm, viewers got Cranston's wild energy, dancing in his underwear, panicking at the chaos, and delivering heart in every bewildered stare. This casting decision would not only make the show's DNA uniquely offbeat, but also set Cranston up for his future transformation on Breaking Bad, where Walter White would become one of television's most iconic anti-heroes. Change a single casting call, and the show you remember shifts entirely. The gags, the warmth, even the tone of that infamous dinner table. Sometimes the roles we turn down shape pop culture just as much as those we claim. As the credits rolled on Fox's first season, you could feel a new era of TV dads taking root. Number 5. Danny DeVito as Louis De Palma from Taxi. Before it was cast, he almost declined. Before the sound of that gruff New York accent filled living rooms, Danny DeVito almost said no to Taxi. With the script for Taxi landing in his lap in 1978, DeVito was wary, afraid that playing an irascible garage dispatcher would cement him as Hollywood's go-to grump, forever typecast as the little guy with the big mouth. In those tense early days, he hesitated, thinking maybe he'd let the opportunity slide. But in a last-minute twist worthy of a sitcom plot, DeVito leaned in. What followed was television magic. Louis De Palma stormed to the center of the show, setting new standards for sneering wit and emotional depth. Taxi lasted 5 seasons, winning 18 Emmy Awards and giving DeVito an Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actor in 1981. Louis wasn't just comic relief, he was sharp-tongued and somehow, in flashes, achingly sympathetic. Taxi's blend of working-class blues and offbeat humor might have landed differently without DeVito's fearless turn. Next time you hear Louis barking orders from his tiny dispatcher's cage, think of the version of TV history where DeVito said no, and realize how much one actor's gamble could change our collective memory of laughter. Let's pause for a second.
I'm not nasty. A lot of guys wouldn't have given you the day off in the first place.
Would you have watched Taxi if someone else played Louis? Have you ever passed on something and wondered what might have been? Drop your favorite Danny DeVito moment or a memory of Taxi below. Number 6. Megan Mullally as Carrie Heffernan from The King of Queens. The casting history of The King of Queens holds one of sitcom history's greatest what-ifs. Megan Mullally nearly became Carrie Heffernan. In the late 1990s, CBS eyed Mullally for the pivotal role, hoping her razor-sharp wit would anchor the series opposite Kevin James. Fresh off notable turns on stage and small guest spots, Megan was ready for a breakthrough. But fate had other plans. That same pilot season, she was offered the role of Karen Walker on a new NBC series, Will and Grace. Sensing a spark in that outlandish, martini-fueled character, Megan took a leap of faith, and television gold followed. With Mullally out, the network cast Leah Remini as Carrie, giving the Queens-based sitcom a tougher, more grounded charm. The show premiered in 1998, instantly resonating with viewers for nearly a decade. Mullally's choice gifted Will and Grace with one of its defining comic voices, while The King of Queens thrived as a working-class comedy rooted in New York authenticity. One bold career move, 2 unforgettable sitcoms, both forever shaped by choices made before the cameras ever rolled. Imagine how different late-night reruns would feel with Megan's dry zing at the kitchen table. Instead, the world got Karen's quips and Carrie's eye rolls, a trade that still echoes through TV history. Number 7. Craig T. Nelson as Jay Pritchett from Modern Family. The warmth of Modern Family might feel unimaginable without Ed O'Neill's straight-faced delivery. But the original blueprint for Jay Pritchett called for a different TV dad, Craig T. Nelson. Coming off a string of sitcom successes, including his Emmy-winning run as Haywire coach Hayden Fox on Coach, ABC had their sights set on Nelson to bring gravitas to the Pritchett clan when developing the pilot for Modern Family in 2008. Negotiations between the network and Nelson, however, hit a wall over salary demands, stalling just as production was gearing up. With the spot still open, producers pivoted, offering the patriarch role to Ed O'Neill, himself no stranger to dysfunctional families after a decade as Al Bundy on Married with Children. O'Neill joined Sofia Vergara, Julie Bowen, and Ty Burrell to launch a fresh ensemble, and by the September 2009 premiere, the adopted dynamic felt both effortless and iconic. Imagine for a moment the Thanksgiving dinners or life lessons delivered not with O'Neill's sly smirk, but with Nelson's booming authority. The ripple effect changed both men's careers. O'Neill revitalized his legacy, while Nelson later found his own new audience voicing Mr. Incredible in the Incredibles films. Sometimes it's the roles that slip away that define what comes next. You can almost feel the missed pairing in every Rye J monologue, proof that in Hollywood, even the jobs you do not take are part of your story. Number 8. John Lithgow as Frasier Crane from Cheers. Frasier. Imagine a world where the witty Dr. Frasier Crane was not brought to life by Kelsey Grammer, but by another acting giant, John Lithgow. This very nearly happened in the early 1980s, when Cheers producers approached Lithgow to introduce the neurotic psychiatrist in the show's third season. Lithgow, already a Tony-winning presence on the stage, was deeply committed to the theater and turned down the role, convinced that television sitcoms didn't have the same creative pull. The spot eventually went to Kelsey Grammer, who debuted as Frasier in 1984, and ended up turning the character into one of TV's most enduring figures, not just on Cheers, but as the anchor of the phenomenally successful spin-off, Frasier, which ran for 11 seasons and won dozens of Emmys. Looking back, Lithgow openly admitted he regretted missing out on the role that would come to define TV psychiatry, humor, and, for Grammer, a whole era of his career. The ripple effect of his decision is clear. Grammer's performance as Frasier Crane became iconic, blending comedy and pathos, and the character remains a high watermark in sitcom history. It's a vivid reminder that sometimes one person's casual no can shape the TV landscape for generations. You can almost hear the jingle of the Cheers cash register as Grammer made his debut, and you wonder just how different things might have sounded if Lithgow had said yes. Number 9. Dana Delaney as Carrie Bradshaw from Sex and the City. Imagine the opening credits of Sex and the City with someone other than Sarah Jessica Parker strolling the streets of Manhattan. It nearly happened. In the late 1990s, producers saw Dana Delaney, known for her Emmy-winning work on China Beach, as their dream Carrie Bradshaw. Delaney's mix of intelligence and understated humor seemed a perfect match for Candace Bushnell's witty columns-turned-scripts. Producers approached her, hoping her dramatic chops and dry wit could anchor this bold new series for HBO. But Delaney hesitated. The explicit scripts were unlike anything on network TV, and at the time she found the prospect of all that urban candor a little too daring. So she gracefully stepped aside. That decision changed television history. Sarah Jessica Parker accepted the role instead. When Sex and the City debuted in 1998, Parker's charm and curiosity made Carrie both relatable and aspirational. Her pensive voiceovers and signature fashion sense became the soul of the series, earning her a Golden Globe and cementing the show's influence on pop culture. Delaney's choice is one of those classic Hollywood what-ifs, a reminder that every casting decision is a roll of the dice. As Parker's Carrie mused over cosmopolitans and heartbreak, you can't help but wonder how one moment of hesitation quietly set the stage for TV history. Number 10. Paul Shaffer as George Costanza from Seinfeld. Imagine George Costanza's signature whine, with the cool, offbeat rhythm of a Letterman band cue. In the early 1990s, as NBC began assembling the cast for Seinfeld, Paul Shaffer's name landed at the top of the list for George. Fresh from his high-profile stint as David Letterman's musical director on Late Night, Shaffer was already beloved for his quirky commentary and sharp comedic timing. The showrunners saw in him a kinetic, neurotic energy they thought perfect for George. But while Seinfeld was a bet on unknowns, Shaffer faced a different crossroads. His deep loyalty to the Letterman team and a packed taping schedule meant Seinfeld's offer never quite took center stage. Instead, the role landed in the lap of Jason Alexander, whose nervous charm and absurdist desperation would define George for 9 seasons, starting in 1989. Shaffer never looked back, continuing with Letterman well into the 2000s and shaping the soundscape of late-night TV. Still, fans sometimes wonder what Seinfeld would sound like with a little more showbiz flair and Letterman band patter. Would George's disasters have a groovier edge, or would the chemistry fizz out altogether? In the end, Jason Alexander's George Costanza set a high watermark for TV neurosis. But before the pretzels ever made him thirsty, the seat could have gone to rock and roll cool. Next up, let's explore what happens when a role finds its true owner, timing and talent aligning at just the right moment.